ahead this morning. Crisis in the classroom. Virginia's largest teachers union under fire as critics say the president of that union is prioritizing her political agenda after the election. A parental rights organization calling out a Democratic Virginia Education Union president after she sends an email to all union members attacking President-elect Trump and infuriating Americans who voted for change, especially in our failing public education system. Joining us now to discuss this and more is Parents Defending Education's Director of Outreach, Erika Sanzi. Good morning. Happy Friday to you. We were talking about the Virginia Education Association, the largest union of teachers in Virginia. President Carol Bauer sent out this email the day after the election, beginning with, this is the full email right here. It says, "I know today feels like a dark day for many of you." She also sent a link in the email for members who are, quote, looking for resources and mental health support. She even wrote, quote, "Before the election, many commentators warned about the end of democracy if Trump won." She said, quote, "That isn't going to happen, not on our watch. America is bigger than Trump and his extremism." On Carol Bauer's X account, she is a supporter of Kamala Harris. She attended a watch party for Virginia Democratic Senator Tom Kaine. Americans who voted for Trump are starting to call out these unions because they are funded in part by taxpayers getting their dues from government employee salaries of the members. Oh, and they're also tax exempt, by the way. So what did you make of this?
I was not surprised. This is not the only letter like that we've seen. We saw a similar one from Union in Arizona. We've seen some school administrators, sending out missives where they're having sort of like meltdowns. The only thing missing from that was the location of the crying room for everybody. Again, if we flip the script, right, like if the election had gone the other way, we obviously would have seen nothing like this. And I also feel like there's a lot of members in these unions who don't align politically with their leadership. So how is a person who voted for Trump supposed to take in that email sent to them by their professional organization? So again,
they're the ones blowing the whistle. They're the ones that are calling this out as well. I can see this online. I see there are people who clearly do not align with this union president. And again, showing their political bias from the very beginning here.
Yeah, but again, like we've talked about this before, I mean, these teachers unions really have become quite ideological and extreme in their politics. They don't just lean left. They are basically an arm of the Democratic Party. And again, rank and file teachers aren't in many, I'm sorry, did I say, rank and file teachers often have different opinions, don't agree with that, or certainly don't feel that they need an email like that. So again, not surprising. We're seeing quite a few sort of like unhinged, overly emotional communications going out from organizations like that, from some administrators. Even we've seen some teachers put on leave because of videos that they've put up online since the election. So I think people are just kind of struggling to deal with this.
Meantime, former Education Secretary Betsy DeVos recently said she thinks the U.S. Department of Education, period, needs to be disbanded to re-empower states, local communities, and more importantly, she said families. She said, quote, "The bureaucrats at the Department of Education aren't doing the job. They haven't done the job for more than 4 decades to close the achievement gaps. Those achievement gaps," she said, "have only widened." What I thought was interesting was a statistic that she brought up saying the Department of Education does not add value because the federal government only contributes 9% of funding for K through 12 education nationwide, but imposes more than 90% of regulations. What was your thought on this?
I mean, if anybody knows about the problems at the Department of Ed, it's going to be Betsy DeVos because she ran the place. And she is right. Prior to the Carter administration, when they established the Department of Education, our academic outcomes were better. Now, I'm not saying that that the department is the reason that they've gotten worse, but it certainly hasn't done anything to improve them. So whether it ends up being, dismantled as she wishes or, reined in or majorly reformed, I think we're going to see some major changes in that department because, to her point, when we think about, who is forcing girls to share their playing fields and their locker rooms with males, that's the Department of Education. And they're the ones who rolled back the due process protections.
Yep.
And they're the ones who have brought this really toxic DEI stuff into the schools that is destroying these institutions from within. So I think we are going to see major changes there, and that's a good thing.
Very quickly, you noticed, obviously, President-elect Trump has not named or nominated his Secretary of Education yet. Some names that have been floated include State Superintendent of Oklahoma, Ryan Walters, as well as co-founder of Moms for Liberty, Tiffany Justice. Is there anyone parents of any education would like to see be appointed?
No, we definitely do not have anybody that we're looking or hoping for to be appointed. But what we will say is clearly it's hard to say what's going to happen because we're seeing, Trump is definitely existing outside the box here, I think. So nothing will surprise us. And again, I think that all of the names that are out there are people who are aligned with what we're aligned with in terms of fixing the rot and getting, and also I think all will have the belief that parents really need a seat at the table and that much of what's going on in these schools cannot continue.
Parents Defending Education's Director of Outreach, Erika Sanzi. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us on this Friday.
Thanks, Jan. Have a nice weekend.